our last segment here at the famous, historic Tunnel Barbecue with the one, the only Thom Racovitis. Welcome.
Well, thank you.
This is unbelievable. Now, you've already been on my show, so I'm not going to ask you the same questions.
Okay.
But how does it make you feel right now sitting here knowing within weeks that this location that's been so big part of your life is moving to a different use? It's
truly bittersweet. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it that it's all great. It isn't. You know, there's my daily routine. Where do I have to go each day?
Yeah.
You know, so I've got to find a different place to hang out.
Well, let's look back at where you've been hanging out. When you got into doing what you do, I mean, some of the places you've worked at over the years, going back as far, what was your first job?
Outside of Tunnel Barbecue, my first job was at Dieppe Village.
Okay.
Worked for the Fortin family for a short period of time. And then I was at Hiram Walker's in the executive dining room with Emery. And then I was at the Elmwood Casino. The
Elmwood Casino, which we've heard about many times on this show, was the place in town with the celebrities, but the amount of food and guests that you went through. How many people would you have been part of cooking for?
Oh, on an average Saturday, it had been 3,000 to 4,000.
Incredible in Windsor, Essex nowadays to hear numbers like that, American and Canadian.
Yeah, and I mean, it was, as an entertainment venue, was the most prominent entertainment venue this side of Chicago.
Right.
There was nothing like it in Detroit. There was no casinos per se of their time. Even though, for whatever reason, they call it a casino.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You know.
And the funny thing is, when we had Father Paul Charbonneau here on the show, and to sit there and think that his whole recovery in Brentwood and what all that means, that it was at the Elmwood Casino where people maybe
relaxing more.
You relaxed more and got into what they're doing.
They got there to get the habit, and then they went there to get rid of the habit.
And then after the Elmwood?
After the Elmwood, I was at, I came back here to Tunnel Barbecue.
But you know that you could never, I mean, though your mom and dad and your family kind of let you loose, you knew that you always had to come back, didn't you?
Oh yeah, this is where my heart was.
Tell us about your mom.
She was an amazing lady. She was very, well, she was very gregarious, but when it came to having business insight, she was a real example, was very detailed.
And when did she start her first restaurant?
I believe it was back in the Tunnel Barbecue with my dad in 1941.
1941.
Yeah. And my understanding, she borrowed $500 from my grandparents. And when they first opened it, had 5 stools and 2 of the Samsonite collapsible card tables, where it was the seating venue.
Right.
And it was primarily a place where checker cabbies used to hang out. And they would get the calls over here, which was right next door, where Tim Hortons is now. That was Checker Cab gas station.
You know, when you look at what you've done, and if you think back to what your mom was doing, really for a lady to be in that role, probably a little odd back then.
Oh, very unusual.
But had the insight and always took chances.
Yeah, very, besides being insightful, she was, she worked like a demon. She was, I've got a daughter that emulates her to the T.
A name of?
Of course.
Helena.
Helena.
I guess the other thing I want to ask you about is, you know, when you look back at the galas, and one of the things that you've always been part of since I've known you is raising the level of how people looked at Windsor, Essex. And though you were a chef and had one element of what Windsor, Essex was, you always seemed, the flame was always being kindled and fanned to help bring this feeling of this lunch bucket town, but we're more than that. So your thoughts on the past years of doing that?
Well, I always said that if we're a lunch bucket town, we're the best lunch bucket town there is. There's no sense being mediocre at whatever you're at. But nevertheless, we're always more than that. And we didn't give ourselves credit. There's a lot more to Windsor than Windsor give itself credit for in a lot of cases. And, you know, we're not noted for fine dining, that's true. But we still have a lot to hold our head proud.
Mm-hmm. You've been really involved too in charities, and I know over the years, and one of the things we're going to be celebrating in this big dinner that we've been talking about all show is about all the different charity work that you did. And it's not so much that you got in and rolled your sleeves up and were part of a committee, though you were a lot of them, but you helped plant the seed or an idea for people to take their charity or their gala, their dinner, their fundraising effort to another level. So tell us about your work with charities over the years.
Well, one of the things I'm really proud of, and you were very instrumental when we first started it, was the galas. And we took the attitude that, first of all, when we did a gala, the gala had to have value to it. It wasn't, you didn't justify giving a $25 meal and charging $150 and justify it by saying, well, it's for charity. The charity aspect of it was one thing. The value of the event had to justify the selling price. So if the price of the event was $150, that is what the value of it was. It would have been at least $150 had you gone out for the evening.
But you know, one of the things that, if you don't know, Thom Racovitis was part of a lot of the galas, and we raised money for all the hospitals. And hospice was part of it. One of their galas was the Way It Was Gala. And then T2B at their very beginnings, and fashion shows and things like that, that when you look back at it, you've touched a lot of lives in your creativity and the fundraising aspect. You happy with that?
Yeah, very much so. And one of the things I'm most pleased with and proud of is the fact that the 100% of the proceeds stayed in Windsor.
And that was always very key to you, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, because
if they sat in front of you to talk about something, you would only get involved if the money stayed in Windsor, Essex.
It had to stay here because so many times we raise money, it goes to, you know, provincial facilities that we have to then beg to get any support locally. Mm-hmm. And so one of the main criteria was that it had to stay in Windsor.
Okay. The other question I've got for you is talking to chefs, and obviously at the college now, and we're going to be doing a scholarship in your name for culinary and hospitality and that. What would you say to students now about getting into this industry that you've lived your life in?
Oh, the future in this industry is more exciting than it ever was. And the opportunity to see the world is just phenomenal. Being a chef in this industry isn't the idea of, you know, making clubhouse sandwiches on the corner restaurant. There's a lot more to it than that. And with the casino here in Windsor, there's opportunities that came along with that. You not only have to, you don't have to stay there even, you can transfer within their organization.
The other key that you always told me years ago, and I always stuck with me, is I think your mom said that when you go to a meal, the soup has to be great, and the coffee had to be great, because the soup started the meal at the restaurant and the coffee ended it. Is that true?
That's absolutely
Still
true.
to this day?
Yeah.
As simple as that?
Yeah, we to this day, we still brew our coffee, have it blended and roasted for us the same way we did right here in Windsor. And that hasn't changed at all.
Other thing too is though you're the top chair, you've had a lot of key people and staff over the years, whether that's waiting tables, cleaning tables, catering, part of your family, in the kitchen, chefs that have worked under you. What do you have to say to them now as this TBQ journey is ending? Well,
I mean, thank you for the journey, and thank you for making me what I've been. If I've been any at all a success, then I owe that to the people that have been working around me.
Mm-hmm. And finally, what do you say to the people of Windsor, Essex, Detroit, that came here and made TBQ a stop in a celebration place when it's the other place, or when you're out here in line, or picking up spices and sauces, sending them around the world? Your thoughts?
Thank you is so inadequate, but yet I just can't think of anything else to say but thank you. And if it wasn't for that, my life would have had no purpose at all.
Well, we're looking forward to this dinner, and I'm telling you, you're going to be the guest. You're going to stay out of the kitchen and enjoy yourself. You're looking forward to this gala?
Oh,